Morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. This is Angela, and I have got questions for you. What opens with NOLA paying homage to some of her ancestors, some of our collective ancestors, and what closes with NOLA's head spinning around and around and around and around? If you guess She's Gotta Have It, Season 1, Episode 9, Change Gonna Come, Gentrification, you're correct. Thank you so much for clicking on the video and sticking around to see how we get from opening to close. I'm Angela, and the channel is Be Fabulous You. Let us proceed, Fabulite. Okay, so we got NOLA at Woodlawn Cemetery, and then I love that little beaver hat she has on, and she does a monologue about 2016, and I think she calls it an Emma Effa, and talks about Agent Orange, or they have Agent Orange, something they have where I was laughing. I don't know what it was. And then we see NOLA leaving flowers on graves. And all of these people are buried at Woodlawn Cemetery in Detroit. There's one cemetery or a couple cemeteries where a lot of famous, prominent people are buried. So maybe it's like that in New York. I need to Google it. But she's leaving flowers on graves of people, including but not limited to Herman Melville, County Cullen, Madam C.J. Walker, Basquiat, Leonard Bernstein, Miles Davis, Duke Ellington, Jackie McLean, W.C. Handy, Lionel Hampton, King Oliver, Bert Williams, Ralph Bunche, Paul Robeson, Thelonious Monk, Mizell, James Baldwin, and on James Baldwin's grave, she leaves a rose and a pen. Malik Shabazz, Betty Shabazz, I loved it. I think we should have opened it up with an homage to the ancestors, but it was perfect timing even at this point. I loved it. So then we move to a community meeting, and we see White Bianca. I think that's NOLA's neighbor, and she's running the meeting, and she's like, people have been painting large green G's on buildings in the neighborhood, and this is serious, this is important. And somebody's like, well, the G is for gentrification, and we have larger fish to fry. And then she says that it's clear that Papo, who I call the mayor, is the culprit. He the culprit. It's obvious that he's the one that's doing it. And they say, no, the mayor didn't do it. People, it's a community meeting. So people are like, different people are saying no, yes, or whatever. But most people are like, no, he didn't do it. Not the mayor. And she's like, he is not my mayor, White Bianca, the neighbor says. He's not my mayor. I didn't vote for him. He's a mental case. And then somebody's like, yeah, from being black in America. And then it devolves into a Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter chant type thing. It's a very Spike Lee-ish type situation we have going on. And then Joie Lee, who plays Nola Darling's mother, gets up and she says, we have to find a way to make it work. The new folks are going to keep coming, and we old heads ain't going nowhere. And the people are like, yay, or whatever. So they're going to have a potluck. Is that going to make it work? Okay, so then we see NOLA in therapy, and she's talking about folks leaving. They're talking about folks leaving because they don't want to pay 3 times the rent. And NOLA says she's not going nowhere. And she's talking about the art, life, and struggle mode, and will I ever make it? And I'm creating all the time, but it's not really translating into money. And then her therapist is like, well, maybe it's the men in Opal. Are you, distracted? And, the baby girl, Nola Darling, is like, well, Mars makes me laugh, and I feel like a kid, and Greer is never the same any day, and Jamie is so complicated. It's not just the money with him now. He's nurturing. And Opal is like, who I want to be, and maybe, Jamie is like her daddy, and, we hear about Nola's rules, and we might even hear some of her rules. And then Nola is saying how she needs the rules because she got to maintain control. And the therapist is like, your art opening, let's talk about that. What if you were not putting out fires, but present? For example, when you were talking to the art critic, maybe you could have been present for your art. Maybe it would have been a better situation for you. You're a vibrant young woman. You're a vibrant artist, and, enjoy this time in your life. And then Nola is like, yeah, I feel like I got to grow up. And the artist is like, well, each lover will want more and more of you and of your time. And it'll be like the situation with Opal. Or no, you should be like Opal and be more transparent, and don't let your male lovers be a three-headed monster. I don't know why it wasn't your male lovers plus Opal, but anyway. And then we see Shemeka with her baby girl, Nadia, at the park, and NOLA is in the studio, and Shemeka calls, and NOLA is glad that her friend is back from the dead, and Shemeka says she bounced back queen, and then NOLA lets Shemeka know that they're hiring lunch ladies at the school, and we get the impression that Shemeka is not really that interested in being a lunch lady. And then there's Nola Darling is giving a collage lesson on Romare Bearden. I remember seeing one of his exhibits in New York, and when I got to the end of the exhibit, it was so striking to me. They had, the artist statement with his picture and all of that, and I just kept looking at the picture like, who is that white man? Because I love his work, and I just couldn't quite reconcile that white man, that person who appeared white to me, was the Romare Bearden, whose work I love so much. But anyway, she's giving this art lesson to the kids, and then we see one of the children on the phone, and NOLA is like, get off that phone, what you doing on the phone in my class? And the kid is like, it's you. And we see that NOLA is going viral as a street artist, and NOLA leaves, and next time we see her, she at Clorinda's place, because Clorinda was like interviewing, oh yes, I know NOLA, she's a brilliant artist, and this is her work or whatever on the internet. And then NOLA is confronting her for posting about My Name Isn't. And, she's like, who told you? And Chloe is like, Mars told me. Clorinda just busted Mars right out, didn't she? That's not nice, Miss Chloe. And then baby girl NOLA is like, this is not all of who I am. And then Clorinda is like, but this is your best work yet. It's bold, it's fierce, and thanks to this post, you are buzzing. I just helped to launch your career in a big way, and you just are giving me attitude. And NOLA is like, you didn't ask. And then Clorinda's like with Mars, you didn't ask. And then NOLA is like, what is it? What did you want to share him? I don't understand. And then NOLA leaves. And my mother, we were watching it together. She like, why is NOLA upset? Because the woman posted the stuff. It's good for her. I'm like, because she didn't ask permission. If she wanted to sign her work, she would have signed that work. She didn't sign that work. That's hers to do with as she pleases. You can't be out here making decisions for people for grown people like that. So I understood. And then we see NOLA confronting Mars at Joey Chains for telling Chloe about the street art. And she's like, I asked for your confidentiality, not your help. Because he's like, I was trying to help you. She like, I ain't asked for your help, mofo. And then Mr. Childs, she says, I asked for your confidentiality, not your help, Mr. Childs. He's like, Mr. Childs, I might be younger than you, but I am no child. And then it seemed like Mars is kind of asking for more, like, I want to be your man or whatever. Or maybe he was just asking for more sex. I'm not sure. But she puts her headset on and she's finished with him. He's dismissed. And then we see the green G. This was my first time seeing it, and I thought it was really pretty. It was a pretty color green. I thought it was pretty. But I guess if it was on my building, I might not think it's pretty about it. But I don't know. But anyway, we see Mars talking to NOLA through the intercom. And meanwhile, Mars is at NOLA's place trying to come up, talking to her through the intercom. And then meanwhile, on the stoop next door, White Bianca, the neighbor, is fussing at the mayor. And she's accusing him of painting the green G on her building. And she says, they go back and forth. He like, I'm just sitting here. She like, I smell you. I hear you, your music. Why you on my stoop? He like, this is my neighborhood. I grew up here. And they going back and forth. And she like, I'm calling the cops. It's clear that you did this. And then NOLA comes down and she's like, what's going on? Then the cops arrive. And then they like, give me your ID. And the mayor is like, I thought stop and frisk was over. And the cops are like, it's a new day. And then Bianca is like, search his car. I'm sure you'll find the green green, spray paint in there. And then the cops is like, show me your ID. And Nola is like, why would he have ID? He's, basically like he's homeless. And the cops are like, show your ID. And it's escalating. And the mayor is speaking. And he's kind of like, then he starts like spacing out or whatever. And we're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And then Nola is like, I did it. Cuff me. I painted the G's. But I think that it's Mars. My mother said who did she think it was? But anyway, I think it's Mars. And then the cops cuffed both of them, Nola and the mayor. And then Bianca is leaving. She's going in her house. And the cops are like, where are you going? You called us. You got to go to the station. She's like, oh. And then Mars is fussing at the cops. What are you doing? Da-da. They like, get on the sidewalk. He's like, I'm on the sidewalk. You can't arrest them. What are you doing? And the mayor's like, take care of my car. And Mars is like, I'm going to take care of your car. What are you doing? You can't take them away. You can't be arrested. It's like a rigmarole. It's a rigmarole. And then we're at the police station and Nola is being fingerprinted and Bianca is making her statement and the mayor thanks Nola. And then we see mugshots of Nola and the mayor. And that moment, I like kind of, my eyes teared up. I was kind of like, ugh. Because we know that somebody's going to come get Nola. Who's going to come get the mayor? Anyway. Nola is in her cell with 5 other women, and she's calling. I thought she was calling her parents, but she's telling them she's at the 87th precinct. And then we see Nola as time passes. It go from being 5 people to 3 people to 2 people, then 3 people, then 2 or whatever. But basically, it's less people there. She's been there for a minute. And then it's finally Nola is free to go. And it's Clorinda who bailed her out. And her parents are outside waiting for her. So I guess she called Clorinda, not her parents. And then we see Jamie. He's arriving at his office. And Nola was featured. Nola has returned the envelope that he gave her with the money in it. And not only the envelope, but the $10,000. She returned the $10,000. I'm like, no! But everybody got to do what they think is right in the situation. With her own note. And Nola says she's, so we see her reading the note or whatever. Or, talking or whatever. But he's reading the note. We hear her voicing over and seeing her. She says she's cutting him off and reworking her self-portrait. Oh, we see her reworking her self-portrait. She tells him that she got the Catholic grant, which we saw or knew. And the universe is giving her a signal. And you are right, there is someone else, and that someone else is me. Then we see a musical interlude, and then we see printed lyrics flowing literally in and out of Nola's mouth while she's slowly spinning. It's like the self-portrait Nola in the all white with her head wrap spinning around. And then we see her in red with the head wrap spinning around. And then in white spinning around. Blah, boo. I was kind of like, at some point, it was kind of like, blah, boo, enough already. It was too slow and too long for me. Did you like it? And then we see the red Nola spinning and she's moving her head, and then she spits out the lyrics out of her mouth. Now, visually and graphically, I thought it was very interesting. It just was too long for me, and like, okay. But behind Nola in her newly reworked self-portrait, it says, if I don't define myself, I will be crunched into other people's fantasies and eaten alive on new. Oh, that's what it says on the new deconstructed, reconstructed self-portrait. So that is the end of that episode. Again, thank you so much for watching, commenting, subscribing, sharing, being you, being fabulous you, because you're the #1 stunner. So be you. Be fabulous you.